It's our special quarterback-to-quarterback segment with Drew Brees and the Cajun Cannon. There's only one problem with that Cajun Cannon. Drew, he wanted me to tell you he's going to miss not talking to you this week, but he got to go see the grandkids in Chicago. Got to go see T-Bob. You know, T-Bob's there in Chicago now with Barstool Sports. So he told me to tell you, hey, I'm going to miss him, but I got to go see the grandkids.
That's all right. I'll forgive him just this time.
All right. Drew, watching this Sunday and seeing Tyler Shough, how poised he was. He had a really good day. He threw the football, and we all knew about, great size, the arm strength, but it was his processing information, his ability to find the open man downfield. Your thoughts on watching him this Sunday with a big win against Carolina?
Yeah, look, it was an impressive performance, and he's one of those guys who's only going to get better each time, he gets a chance to get on the field. That's the only problem. The only tough thing about the quarterback position is only one guy can play, and you need the experience and the repetition just to develop confidence and all those things that come with it. So, nothing replaces experience. So with each and every snap he gets, the better he'll get. And I think that's one of the reasons why he was drafted, and why we liked him so much was, 7 years in college, right? Unfortunately, a couple injuries that sidetracked, a couple of those years, but just a ton of experience being around some great coaches and some great systems. And I think that was really the scouting report on him coming out was obviously he's a big, strong athlete. He can make every throw. He can make plays outside the pocket. He's tough to bring down, but also just, I think his command of the offense and his poise. And I think you saw that on Sunday.
Drew, what surprised me, I knew he was a good athlete, but I didn't see his ability to get away from pressure like we saw Sunday. And one play in particular, when you look at that, that play to Juwan Johnson, that 52-yarder, okay, they got him, he's in chase now, okay? They after you. And he finds him downfield. He was cool under pressure. Pow! That ball comes out of there, and Juwan makes the big play, and you get in for the score. That to me, it shows a lot because a lot of times with young quarterbacks, they want to run around and they run right into pressure instead of trying to avoid it. And on that play, man, you saw the pocket presence of Tyler Shough.
Yeah, for sure, and that's something, especially with young quarterbacks. It typically takes time, to develop that comfort level in the pocket to stand in there, and then also just to know when to abort and be able to, get outside the pocket and make plays. I think a lot of times young guys kind of abort too soon, because they're kind of used to making those types of plays in college. But look, I think kind of his size and stature, promote itself to just, being able to stand in there, really see it, stand strong and deliver the ball down the field. But also, he's a good enough athlete that, when things break down, he can get outside and make plays.
One of the things, and talking to Bob about this, and it does happen, once you get a few games of tape on you, how they adjust to you, and you got to adjust. Because now they're going to try to take away the strength of a quarterback, and you kind of have to counterpunch in that variety.
Yeah, you're always trying to dictate the tempo of the game to the defense, and a lot of that's done with tempo, and that's how you create rhythm for yourself, but it's also how you keep a defense off balance. And in most cases, it keeps defenses more vanilla because they just don't want to get caught out of position. But look, there's going to be times where, hey, they're gonna have a chance to dial something up on you. They're trying to, kind of move you off your mark, so to speak. Defensive lines always talk about occupying that space 3 to 4 yards behind the center. That's the area where quarterbacks typically like to step up. So how do they, kind of get pressure in your face? Maybe have you second guess, your vision down the field, and again, maybe make you abort too soon. So yeah, that's the cat and mouse game that you're always playing. But it's also why you move the pocket too. You move the pocket with your nakeds, your bootlegs, your play action, your sprint out game, your screen game, just to keep the defense off balance.
One of the things in this game, you rushed for over 120 yards. It wasn't a great average, but you continued to run, and you know it as well as anybody. That running game is such a great addition when you're a young quarterback that they got to respect that. And, man, Alvin drank from the fountain of youth over the weekend. And, man, he looked on a couple plays like, man, that looked like the Alvin Kamara we had seen earlier in his career.
Well, look, you bring up a great point. I'm glad you said that. To me, it's not about the average, per rush, because the reality is when you turn on NFL games, is it's typically 2 to 3 yards a rush, and then if you break a big one, that kind of helps your average. But it's really you kind of just come to expect and embrace the fact that 2 to 3 yards is. It's getting you into more favorable third down, situations. It's possessing the ball. It's, utilizing the clock. It's resting your defense, but it's also just, gradually kind of slowing down the defensive front. So it really does open up opportunities for you in the pass game later on. And especially it's a war of attrition. As the game goes on, those 2 and 3 yard runs turn into 3 and 4 yard runs and then give you the opportunities to break it open at the end. But I think too, for a running back, man, just getting into a rhythm, right, of, carrying the ball consistently or touching the ball consistently, I think it just gets them into a better frame of mind and allows them to be most efficient too.
One of the things, Drew, is, everywhere I go now, it's, man, do we got something here maybe? We got something here with Tyler Shough. I said, okay, we might. Okay, we're a few games away from that anointment, but how well the defense played. Because you knew going in what you were going to get. You were going to get a fistful of Rico Dowdle in a running game with the Panthers, and the Saints were able to shut that down and basically say, hey, I don't think Bryce Young can beat me, and he couldn't.
Yeah, look, it was great to see that, It's what every defense says, hey, stop the run, but it's much, easier said than done. But look, I think and we got some guys on the defensive side of the ball that stepped up to that challenge, and I know that was the priority going into this game. And so that was great to see. And look, if you can make the opposing offense one-dimensional, that's really what you strive for.
The other thing, too, is this is a financial game. No matter what, there is a financial part. And when the Saints traded Rashid Shaheed away to Seattle, it was telling you if we're going to play any wide receiver, it's going to be Chris Olave. Comes up big in this game, a big 62-yard touchdown, over 100 yards receiving. And, I'm glad to see it because you think about all the concussion issues he had and what it does for you, not so much physically. We all knew Chris Olave could play, but between your ears.
Yeah, look, absolutely. Psychologically, look, I think anytime you trade a player who I think going into the year, you especially with those two speedsters in Olave and Shaheed, you're sitting there going, okay, these guys blow the top off. We got other guys that can kind of dominate the intermediate game. And then all of a sudden, you make a business decision to trade a guy like that. It does one of two things. Either the guys take that as, hey, well, we're not as good as we were because we lost this guy, or, hey, it's time for everybody else to step up. And it just means more opportunities for the rest of us. And, let's go show them what we're made of. And I think that's what we saw. You saw some young guys really stepping up. Obviously, new quarterbacks, so you're kind of reestablishing the identity on offense. But then a guy like Olave, who I think, we all have high expectations for. We drafted him in the first round a few years ago to kind of be the guy, right? And so anytime you come off a game like that where you make some big plays, that was really encouraging.
True. After you had a 4-game losing streak, then you get a win. Okay, you got a little confidence. Then bang, you get a bye week. Your thoughts on that? To me, man, I would want to continue to play. Okay, we got something going here. Understand you need to take a little break and everything, and that's why they have the bye weeks. But to have it after, okay, you had that long not being able to drink from the water. Now you got a full glass, and now, okay, you won't play this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's always that balance. You don't want to break up your rhythm, but at the same time, bye week was always an opportunity to recharge the battery. It's the midway point of the season, so probably a good thing for a lot of the veteran guys, especially. A week to get the bodies right and then make another run at it.